Alert! Mr. Noodles has responded. I repeat, Mr. Noodles has responded. It took me 2 days to realize that he had responded because no one bothered to tell me and because the video only has 300 views. But you know what? I feel like I've made fun of Mr. Noodles' low view count enough now. Having low views doesn't necessarily mean that your videos are bad. Def Noodles just happens to make bad videos and have low views. Anyway, to catch you up to speed in case you didn't see my last video, Def Noodles is a drama YouTuber who fell off and then came back as a MAGA grifter, and then I made a video making fun of him and now he has responded to me. There you go, now you're up to date. I haven't watched the video yet. I thought it would be fun to give my live, unfiltered reaction. His video is titled Ryan Beard and the Poison of Leftism. According to Def Noodles, I am not okay, and it looks like I'm having some sort of severe allergic reaction to the leftism nuclear power plant. And you know, if the leftism power plant really is giving people hay fever, well, that's something worth calling out, so I'm glad that he made this video. Unfortunately, I have been infected with the woke mind virus, and Mr. Noodles is the only cure. So let's slurp some of these noodles together and see if we can all be cured of our leftism.
This is a response to Ryan Beard's video about me published on April 24th, 2025, titled Disgraced Drama YouTuber Returns as a MAGA Grifter. Now, I could waste time addressing every lazy accusation, every sarcastic jab, every line written like it was focus grouped for Reddit karma.
Okay, so it looks like instead of actually responding to my arguments, he's just gonna go on a 12-minute rant about how evil leftism is. Definitely shows a lot of confidence in his political opinions that he doesn't want to actually respond to the things that I said. But what I do not appreciate is his little subtle jab at Redditors. Is it really so bad if the things that I say make Redditors happy? Redditors are people too, okay?
But that would entirely miss the point, because I don't see Ryan as evil or even personally malicious for making that video about me. Ryan isn't my enemy, he's a symptom, a tool playing a part in a much larger, more insidious mechanism that isn't just attacking me, but everything that has made Western civilization as prosperous and enduring as it is.
So I guess because I made fun of how bad I thought your video was criticizing Bill Burr, this shows that I've been infected with the woke mind virus and I'm trying to destroy Western civilization. I would actually argue that some of the things that built Western civilization were labor movements and unions, which you shit all over by sucking off billionaires in your last video.
Bill Burr, who caught everyone's attention this week after a bizarre meltdown on his podcast about billionaires.
But sure, let's hear how my ideas are gonna destroy Western civilization.
What we're actually dealing with here, folks, is a culture that elevates performance over principle and confuses mockery for moral authority.
A society that elevates performance over principle and confuses mockery for moral authority? I'm sorry, Dennis, but the cadence of the way you're speaking really sounds like this came from ChatGPT. Am I responding to ChatGPT right now? Is that really what my career has come to? I don't want to assume you're using ChatGPT. Maybe your brain is just similar to an AI. Okay, so you think I've elevated performance over principle, so I sure hope you're gonna give some examples of how I've contradicted my own principles. And you think that I'm showing that people confuse mockery for moral authority. I have never claimed that I'm a moral authority. I'm just some random fucking YouTuber, and it doesn't really make sense that you're criticizing me for using mockery when you in your last video said that listening to Bill Burr talk about economics is like listening to a goldfish try to do calculus.
As always, when Hollywood millionaires try to play economic experts, it's like watching a goldfish try to do calculus.
Is that not you mocking Bill Burr? And don't you also love Trump, who historically, out of like all of the presidents in all of American history, uses mockery more than anyone else? If you're a Trump supporter, then you should love mockery. That's like Trump's whole thing. And you also used to love mockery when you would do comedy roasts. Are you just mad that now I'm mocking you instead of you mocking other people? I agree with you that politics shouldn't only rely on mockery, but I'm not a politician. I'm a comedic commentary YouTuber, and part of the job is mocking people.
So This isn't even about one video. It's about an ideology that punishes change, devours sincerity, and calls that destruction virtue.
So you're upset with me for criticizing you because you changed in a way that I don't like, yet in your last video you were criticizing Bill Burr because he changed in a way that you don't like?
So let's talk about leftism, specifically its current post-cultural Marxist form, which increasingly functions as authoritarian collectivism cloaked in the language of progress.
Post-cultural Marxism that functions as authoritarian collectivism masked in the language of progress? I don't even know how to respond to this, dude. You're just like throwing out buzzwords right now. No, I'm not post-cultural. I obviously think that culture does play a role in society. I don't know what you mean by authoritarian collectivism. I consider myself anti-authoritarian. Maybe you could actually respond to my arguments instead of just throwing out Jordan Peterson-esque buzzwords like postmodern neo-Marxism.
This modern, hyper-politicized doctrine dominates elite institutions across the West, from academia to mainstream news media, pop culture, and large segments of the Democrat Party. It degrades public discourse through ideological conformity, moral relativism.
So you think I'm being too hyper-politicized while you've made an entire YouTube channel that is dedicated to you dunking on people from the lens of being a MAGA supporter, and you think I'm pushing too much ideological conformity while you are also getting mad at Bill Burr because he doesn't perfectly align with your ideology, and you think that I'm a moral relativist even though I'm someone who regularly criticizes moral relativism? One of the reasons I actually left Christianity years ago is because I felt like there was too much moral relativism within Christianity. Christians would simultaneously say that slavery is evil while also justifying the Bible, which says that it's okay to own other human beings. So no, I am not a moral relativist. I'm someone who thinks that if something was wrong today, then it'll still be wrong in the future, and it was also wrong in the past. Slavery was always wrong. It doesn't make it right at one point in the past just because a book says so. But you don't actually have any examples of me being a moral relativist. You're again just throwing out buzzwords.
And the constant rewriting of history and language.
You think I'm trying to rewrite history while you also support Trump, who wants to defund schools if they talk about slavery?
Which brings us to the first rule of modern leftism. Redemption is not an option. Your past is permanent, your mistakes are immutable, apology is weakness, growth is suspect, and ideological evolution, unless it moves in one direction, that being only towards the left, is treated as betrayal.
Bro, I literally said in my last video that I think people should be allowed to learn and grow from their past mistakes. And I think that when you do fail in life, the best thing to do is take a step back, self-reflect, learn from your mistakes, and then return as a better person. I am someone who regularly preaches that we should allow people to grow from their past mistakes. If one of the core pillars of leftism is rehabilitative justice, then we should allow people to rehabilitate themselves over time. But to me, it doesn't really seem like you've learned and grown from your past mistakes. It seems like you've just come back to YouTube to suck off billionaires and Trump, which I think is cringe.
That's why they mock ideological change, why they call it grifting, because in this worldview, people aren't expected to grow, they're expected to conform.
Conservatism is one of the most conformist ideologies that exists. If you criticize Trump or criticize Christianity as a conservative, they will absolutely eat you alive for it. And if you're a man, you need to conform to traditional male gender roles. If you're a woman, you need to conform to traditional female gender roles. I think that I'm someone who generally just wants to let people live their lives and do whatever they want as long as they aren't hurting other people. But yeah, if you spend all your time sucking up to billionaires who are fucking over the working class, I'm gonna think that that's cringe because that goes against my ideological worldview. Just like you said that Bill Burr was cringe because he was criticizing billionaires too much. None of this makes any sense, man. You can't criticize me for trying to get people to conform to my worldview while you're trying to get other people to conform to your worldview.
You see, to the left, the concept of repentance, of genuine transformation, is incompatible with a system built on moral exhibitionism.
Not true. Leftism is built around rehabilitative justice, which is the belief that people should be able to learn and grow from their past mistakes. I agree with you that some leftists don't actually live by the principle of rehabilitative justice, and they just try to cancel people and ruin their life the second they make one mistake, which is why I call without those people on the left. The problem so far with this video is you aren't actually responding to me as a person. You're just making all these assumptions about me based on the ideological box you've put me into.
Grace requires humility, and humility doesn't trend. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't feed outrage or flatter ego. Humility says, I was wrong, without spectacle. Grace says, you can be forgiven, without demanding humiliation. But in a culture ruled by performance, there's no use for that kind of quiet transformation. It doesn't give the crowd something to mock. It doesn't produce a villain to cancel. In fact, it threatens the whole system, because if people can change genuinely and without spectacle, then maybe public shaming isn't justice. Maybe outrage isn't truth. And if that's the case, the entire scaffolding of the left's cultural power begins to collapse.
None of these criticisms make any sense when your entire YouTube channel is built around calling people out in the exact same way that you're criticizing the left for doing. My whole first video was criticizing you because you were jumping to attack Bill Burr the second that he leaned a little bit too left for your liking. I agree with you that we should allow people to learn from their past mistakes, and I also agree with you that we shouldn't attack people the second that they stray just a little bit from our ideology. That's what I was criticizing you for in the first video.
So to a leftist, when someone changes their mind, when they find deeper meaning, step away from the dogma and begin speaking from conviction, the question isn't what led to this change, it's what's the angle? Because the assumption baked into this poisonous ideology is that everything must be transactional, that no one acts out of conviction, only for clout, validation, or profit.
I obviously do think that people act out of conviction. I try to stay true to my convictions in my videos. And in my first video, I acknowledged that your transition into being a right-winger could be genuine. I don't know either way. I already predicted that you might criticize me for calling you a grifter, because being a grifter implies that it isn't genuine, which is why I brought up the fact that you admitted that in the past you lied about actually being on the left.
Quietly, I began to consume more conservative media, listening to voices like Ben Shapiro, Rush Limbaugh, but I kept it to myself. Living in Los Angeles, I feared being outed as someone who leaned conservative. It felt like a career killer for anyone in the acting or writing industry.
And I said that it might be more accurate that in the past you were actually a left-wing grifter and now you're being genuine. Did you actually watch my video? Can you actually respond to my arguments instead of responding to these stupid straw men?
And that's projection in its purest form, because the modern leftist mindset is trained to see belief as branding and identity as a hustle. And how does that work? It's a system built on repetition and reward. Social capital, status, influence, visibility is earned by signaling the right opinions. But what makes an opinion right? It's not truth or principle, it's consensus within the activist class, media gatekeepers, and online mobs.
Bro, I do not give a single fuck what people in the activist class or the online mob tell me to believe. I am someone who routinely pisses people off because I am not afraid to criticize anyone. I have criticized Vosh, Destiny, and Hassan at one point or another, which has made all of these communities attack me at one point. I am someone who is not afraid to criticize literally anyone that I disagree with. If some activist tells me to believe a certain thing, I'm not gonna listen to them just because they're an activist. I'll listen to them if it agrees with my principles. Again, you are not actually criticizing me right now, you're just criticizing a stereotype of leftists.
The right opinion is whatever flatters the prevailing narrative, whatever aligns with institutional orthodoxy, and whatever makes you appear morally superior, at least in that brief moment.
No, I generally think that the right opinion is what leads to a better society with less harm for people. I just happen to agree with leftism because I like leftism's idea of a future society more than I like conservatism's idea of a future society. If you want to talk about orthodoxy, I was raised in a religion with literal orthodoxy that told me that I had to agree with every single thing in the Bible or I was sinful. But now I try to live my life with less orthodoxy and realize that things in the real world are much more complicated and nuanced. Again, you're not actually responding to me, you're just responding to stereotypes you assume about me.
And performing the right outrage is just as essential for influencers, pundits, celebrities, and even everyday users looking for validation online. This means knowing which headlines to amplify, which villains to denounce, and which causes to hashtag, all timed precisely to the current cultural algorithm.
That is exactly what you're doing doing. You're trying to get picked up in the right-wing algorithm by signaling all of the typical right-wing beliefs and imagery, which is why I made fun of you for the red lighting and the American flag and the eagle and the MAGA hat. You are literally actively doing the thing that you are accusing me of doing. And while it might be true that like in Hollywood, it's more profitable to be like a liberal or left-wing, on YouTube, it's actually more profitable to be conservative. The vast majority of political YouTube channels that make the most money are conservative channels. I don't post leftist content because I'm trying to make the most money possible. I post it because it's what I agree with and I enjoy making YouTube videos.
It's not about moral clarity, it's about relevance. One week it's Ukraine, the next it's Palestine, one week it's Roe v. Wade, and the next it's climate panic or whatever pronoun enforcement is ticking their side off.
It's the same for you. For you, one week it's Snow White is too woke. The next week it's Whoopi Goldberg has gone woke. The next week it's Bill Burr has gone woke. You're just describing how the news cycle works, which applies to literally everyone. And it's not like I only talk about relevant topics. I chose to make a video about your ass and you only have 13,000 subscribers. You're definitely not a relevant topic.
These causes rise and fall like fast fashion, not based on depth or consistency, but based on visibility and clout.
How are my opinions not based on depth and consistency? I do stand with both Ukraine and Palestine because I think in both of those situations they're being wrongfully attacked. What exactly is not consistent about that?
In this framework, the most aggrieved person holds the most authority, and the moral high ground is no longer earned, it's performed. And that's exactly why someone like Ryan can build an entire video around old clips, past controversies, and stale internet drama, because in his worldview, the past isn't something to learn from, it's something you're chained to. In reality, his purpose in dredging up the past isn't nostalgia, it's framing. Those moments are used as a lens to distort everything in the present. Every current belief I now hold, every video I make, is filtered through a storyline of failure and fraud. Not because he's seeking truth, but because in leftism, change itself has to be discredited.
What the hell are you talking about? Only the first like 30 seconds of my video was me talking about your past controversies, and then I moved on and most of the video was me making fun of your current video. I even made sure to empathize with you and mention how I've had similar fuck-ups in the past that you have and that you're not alone in making mistakes. I don't think that your entire life should be defined by the mistakes you made in the past. I just want you to stop making dog shit videos now.
The left doesn't believe in private growth or personal renewal. They only recognize confession when it's public, performative, and degrading. The idea that someone might mature, reflect, or evolve in silence and come back stronger is foreign to them.
You're saying that I only think you could grow as a person if you made a cringy YouTuber apology? I'm someone who regularly makes fun of how performative and cringy YouTuber apologies can be, which is why I made fun of Colleen's cringy YouTuber apology. Every single criticism you are making about me is like the opposite of what I actually believe. I agree with you that it's totally fine to learn and grow away from the internet and that not everything always deserves a cringy performative YouTube apology. I am like dumbfounded by this video. None of these criticisms have anything to do with me. Every fucking criticism that you're throwing out against me are things that I criticize other people for. This is like actually legitimately one of the worst videos I have ever seen. If you want to criticize me or my beliefs, then maybe I don't know, watch one of my videos and respond to it, or read some of the things that I've said in the past and respond to that, instead of just making all these fucking assumptions about me that have absolutely no basis in reality.
Leftism doesn't just reject redemption, it lacks a moral ceiling. There's no endpoint. No moment where the revolution declares, we've won and now let's build, because building requires stability, hierarchy, discipline, and objective standards. All things the modern left rejects.
I agree with you that progressivism isn't about infinitely progressing, because hopefully you will eventually progress to a point where you're happy with society. But until we get to a point where oppression has been abolished, I don't think that we've reached the end goal yet. If we can progress to a society where there is no oppression, then I will become a conservative, because I will want to conserve the current society where there's no oppression. Again, not responding to an argument I've actually made, just making more assumptions about me.
So instead, it loops. It feeds on itself. The purity tests get tighter. The rules change faster. The allies become enemies. Today's activist is tomorrow's bigot. And when they can't cancel you for being what they deem their most recent version of evil, they'll settle for calling you Embarrassing. This is the real function of videos like Ryan's, not to debate ideas, but to delegitimize the person holding them.
I agree with you. One of my biggest criticisms of leftism is that we get in these little bubbles where we tear everyone else apart if they slightly disagree with us. With a lot of leftists, if you disagree even slightly with their perspective, they will label you a fascist. This is not good. We should be able to be critical of people within our own movement without resorting to constant leftist infighting, because the leftist infighting ends up weakening the left, which makes it easier for the right to take power. Which is why you have to strike a balance between criticizing other people in your movement and finding solidarity with other people in your movement. And I agree with you that right now the left has too much of a problem of not enough solidarity. And maybe you would know that if you actually watched any of my fucking videos or paid attention to anything I've ever fucking said.
It's high school politics dressed in Marxist aesthetics, where ad hominems become an acceptable strategy. They mock the appearance but don't address the argument. They attack the tone but never question the truth.
I did attack your arguments. I criticized how dumb I thought your arguments were. I didn't only use ad hominems. Sometimes with comedy, it's okay to use the occasional ad hominem if you're just making fun of someone. But I agree with you that I don't like YouTube videos where people are just making constant ad hominems and making fun of people's appearance or whatever instead of actually engaging with their arguments. Which is why in my video, I made sure to engage with your arguments that you were making defending billionaires and giving rebuttals as to why I thought your arguments were dumb. And don't act like you don't ever use ad hominems, Mr. Listening to Bill Burr try to talk about economics is like listening to a goldfish try to do calculus. That is an ad hominem. That is not an actual argument. And I would have no problem with your comedic ad hominems if they were actually funny.
They ridicule the symbols, faith, country, tradition, because those things anchor people in something higher than the collective, something they can't control, something higher than the mob. And that's the real threat, because a person grounded in principle can't be shamed into silence. So they focus on optics, not substance. The goal is to make the set look ridiculous, not wrong, to frame sincerity as cringe, to frame conviction as cosplay.
So you think that I was focusing on optics over substance, even though I'm the only one here who actually engages with the substance of your arguments by watching your actual videos, while you are making this optical play to try to get conservatives on your side by not actually responding to anything that I fucking said.
Because once belief is reduced to a costume, it no longer has to be taken seriously. And the beliefs most often treated that way, Christianity, patriotism, masculinity, aren't mocked because they're dangerous. They're mocked because they're independent. They offer identity without needing the left's permission.
If you actually watched my fucking videos, I have said that I have nothing against masculinity or patriotism or Christianity. I have regularly defended that it's okay to be masculine. I just don't like it when people use masculinity to be toxic. I've defended that I think it's okay to be a Christian as long as you don't weaponize your Christianity to oppress people. I've defended that I think it's okay to be patriotic as long as you don't use your patriotism to oppress people. Actually engage with my fucking worldview, Dennis. Oh my God.
They root you in something eternal, something greater than yourself that doesn't require retweets or rainbow flags in your bio. That's why the left sneers at them, because people who believe in something higher can't be controlled by people who believe in nothing.
You are so right, Dennis. I get my moral system and my ethical system from retweets. Whatever gets the most retweets is the most moral and ethical under my framework. You are so right. Who cares about the age-old philosophical debates between utilitarianism and deontology when you can just build your entire worldview off of what gets the most retweets, which is obviously what I do? Instead of putting out this dogshit video, just say that you are too dumb to actually respond to any of my actual arguments and move the fuck on.
And at the core of this ideology is an unspoken truth. It hates people, and it will use them as a means to an end. It uses minorities as moral shields. It uses trauma as leverage. It uses the language of justice to accumulate more cultural power. And once someone no longer serves that function, once they speak the wrong way, platform the wrong idea, interview the wrong person, or break character, it doesn't matter if they check every leftist identity box on the planet. They're immediately disposable.
I don't care how many leftist identity boxes you tick. What I care about is if the ideas you are pushing lead to more harm or less harm. If I think they're leading to less harm, then I will agree with them. If I think they're leading to more harm, I will disagree with them. And I am genuinely trying to move towards a world that is better for people because I care about people as much as you claim that I don't. What even is your criticism of me? Just the fact that I made a video criticizing you like you made a video criticizing Bill Burr? That I'm trying to force you into my ideological perspective while you're trying to force Bill Burr into your ideological perspective? You have not made a single criticism of me that actually applies to my beliefs or doesn't also apply to yourself. If you really want to live in a world where we're not performatively criticizing people for not having the right perspectives, then delete your YouTube channel, dumbass. I'm sorry, I know I need to calm down. It just really frustrates me when people won't actually engage with the things that I actually believe and make videos criticizing me that have nothing to do with me. If he would actually go through and engage with my points and give substantive criticism about why he disagrees, I would not be getting as frustrated as I am right now. At least with like Isaac Butterfield, we roasted each other back and forth, which was fun. This is just miserable.
And Ryan doesn't need to say any of this out loud. It's just baked into the format that he's adopting. These types of videos aren't designed to inform or engage. They're built to humiliate. They function as digital purity rituals, policing the boundaries of acceptable thought. The subtext is clear. Don't wander too far off. Don't question the script. Don't you dare change.
Everything that you are saying right now about me is exactly what I criticized you for in my video. You decided to make 7 videos calling out Bill Burr a comedian because he made jokes that were slightly too left-leaning. And I thought that was cringe, so I made fun of you. Everything that you are saying right now about freaking the fuck out when someone steps slightly out of line is exactly what I was criticizing you for doing to Bill Burr. Did you even watch my video? Am I just responding to a ChatGPT script right now? What the fuck is going on?
It's not just criticism, it's a warning. A public spectacle meant to discourage ideological drift and remind everyone watching that deviation will be punished. But here's the thing, you can't run a society, let alone a movement, on shame, sarcasm, and suspicion.
You can't run a movement based on shame, sarcasm, and suspicion. What the fuck were your videos criticizing Bill Burr? You were suspiciously concocting this conspiracy theory in your head that he had gone woke because he made a couple left-wing jokes. You are literally criticizing yourself right now.
You can't build a future on mockery. At some point, the audience stops laughing and starts asking, what are you actually offering? Now, the left had decades of cultural dominance. They controlled the stories, they defined heroes, and this bitter, petty, exhausted worldview is the end result of all that dominance. Not progress, not unity, just a culture so hollow it can only mock what it no longer understands. There is no joy in it, no awe, no forgiveness, no transcendence, only followers desperate not to be the next target, only activists who eat each other alive to prove they're still pure, and only commentators who mine other people's lives for content because they've built nothing of their own that can stand without someone else to tear it down.
What have you built on your own outside of tearing other people down? Your comedy club that fucking failed? Yeah, a lot of my career has been built around criticizing people and tearing people down because I enjoy doing that, but I've also found a lot of success with music and comedy. What are you doing other than tearing people down? You are literally just criticizing yourself right now, Dennis.
Needless to say, that's not honest commentary. It's opportunism dressed as insight. The more dehumanizing, the more negative, the more scandalous it feels, the better it performs. Accuracy is optional, charity is obsolete, and what matters is the spectacle.
I would be willing to be charitable towards you if you would actually engage with my arguments or engage with anything I've ever fucking said in my entire life. I always try my best to be good faith and genuinely hear people out and admit when I'm wrong and be able to have an open dialogue. But I can't have an open dialogue with an entire video that is just you constructing a straw man of me.
It's a reality show on steroids, driven by algorithms that reward blood sport. And they all play their roles, cloaked in virtue to shield themselves from consequence. And if truth gets in the way, they don't confront it. They edit the script to match the narrative.
What truth have you given me that's gone against my narrative? What are you saying right now that's going against my script? There is no script. I am directly engaging with and responding to everything that you are saying, which you did not do with me.
But that kind of machine can't sustain a worldview because a worldview built on mockery, envy, and reactivity doesn't know how to build anything. It only knows how to punish, posture, and consume.
If you hate YouTube channels that are dedicated to mockery and criticism, then delete your channel. The only thing you are saying in this video is how much you hate yourself. I really enjoy this job because I like making jokes, I like sharing my opinions, and it's way fucking better than the waiter jobs that I had in the past. This is honestly the cushiest job I've ever had in my entire life, and I'm like eternally grateful that I get to do this for a living. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with having a YouTube channel dedicated to criticizing people. But if you do think this, then delete your channel. Put the fries in the bag, bro. Go get a real job. You're only getting 600 views on your videos. It genuinely feels like this video is some kind of wake-up call to yourself. Go get a fucking job, Dennis.
And there's no center, no foundation, just fear of irrelevance, masked as moral clarity. A real worldview must offer meaning, purpose, a future, but all the left offers is a warning. Either you stay in line or you become the next punchline.
Bro, your videos about Bill Burr were you trying to turn him into a punchline. It's not my fault that you failed at that and I actually succeeded. Make better content. I don't know what else to fucking say.
But in the end, it doesn't matter how many jokes they make or how loud they scream. The truth has gravity, and once someone sees it, really sees it, they don't go back. Not because they're chasing attention, but because they're done pretending the counterfeit is noble. They've lived inside the machine. They've watched it eat sincerity, devour faith, and sell outrage as virtue. And now they're walking away, not in bitterness, but in God-given freedom.
In God-given freedom. Well, you know what, Dennis? I enjoy using my God-given freedom to roast the shit out of you, okay? Yeah, it was nice back when I was young to feel like I had some sort of universal truth to follow with the Bible, but following that worldview also felt very constricting because it's God's way or the highway, and if you do anything wrong, then you're a sinner. Yeah, it's nice to feel like you have the ultimate truth of the universe figured out, but I think it can also be fulfilling to admit that you don't always have the perfect answers to everything. Because when you can admit that you don't have all the answers to universal truth, it leads you to seeking out truth by studying things like philosophy, which is why I've been getting really into studying philosophy recently. There's this interesting rich history of all these different philosophers who have different perspectives on what constitutes reality, and I probably wouldn't be seeking all that out as much if I felt like I already had all the perfect answers and the perfect universal truth from the Bible. And again, I'm not shitting on the Christian worldview. I think that Christianity can be a beautiful thing, and I'm really happy for people who find fulfillment in it. This entire video was just incredibly stupid, reductive stereotypes. I have taken the time to try to figure out my moral principles. I do try to stay consistent in my beliefs. I don't just follow the leftist dogma and agree with whatever the mob tells me to believe. It's just incredibly ironic that you're criticizing me for promoting a worldview that punishes you if you step out of line, while you're promoting MAGA and Christianity and American patriotism, when these are groups that are all historically known for punishing people when they step out of line.
As for Ryan, I hold no grudges. I truly hope you're doing well, man. I pray that you find peace, not just career success or digital applause, but the kind of deep, steady peace that doesn't fade when the screens turn off. And I mean that sincerely, because at the end of the day, this isn't about winning arguments or settling scores. It's about telling the truth, standing firm, and walking in grace, even when it's mocked, especially when it's mocked. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.
I do genuinely appreciate what he said there at the end. Thank you. I also don't want your life to be miserable. I just genuinely struggle to understand why you're so upset with people that mock other people while you made 7 different videos mocking Bill Burr. Because yeah, if you were just minding your own business and then I just came in and started roasting the shit out of you, that would be awful. And I hate the people on social media that will just start attacking people for their appearance for no good reason. And I also am someone who has always preached that we should allow people to learn from their past mistakes. If I'm being honest, it feels like you just didn't enjoy being given a taste of your own medicine and me doing to you what you were doing to Bill Burr. So if you don't want to get burned, I'm sorry, but you gotta get out of the kitchen. Well, that was something. If you enjoyed this video, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a member of this channel. I'm gonna be posting exclusive videos for only members of the channel or members of the Patreon. It genuinely means the world to me to help me get more financial security and not have to only rely on the YouTube channel. So thank you so much for helping me not have to put the fries in the bag like Dennis here. finish out the video, I realized that I've probably been going about this whole thing the wrong way. Unfortunately, I think speaking with my own words is a language that Dennis just doesn't understand. So I've asked AI to write me a script that I can use to respond to Dennis, and if he responds back to me again, I'll just write another AI script, and we can just keep going back and forth shooting AI scripts at each other for eternity. So just forget the whole rest of the video. Starting now is my actual response to Def Noodles. Well, if it isn't my old pal Dennis, or as the youngsters like to call him, Def Noodles. I see you've responded to my little video with what can only be described as a sermon that would make a televangelist go, hey buddy, let's dial it back a notch. First off, I'd like to thank you for confirming everything I said in my original video. Nothing says I'm definitely not a right-wing grifter like a 15-minute monologue about cultural Marxism that sounds like it was written by Jordan Peterson's AI assistant. I mean, good gravy, Dennis. Your response had more buzzwords than a LinkedIn profile during layoff season. You know, folks, watching Def Noodles try to intellectualize his way out of criticism is like watching a dolphin try to do quantum physics. It makes a lot of noise, but no one is exactly sure what is happening. Now, let's address this notion that I'm some sort of leftist enforcer who's trying to punish you for changing your mind. Dennis, my critique wasn't that you changed your mind, it's that your transformation was about as subtle as a foghorn in a library. You used to give bad commentary back then, and you still give bad commentary now. That's not evolution, Dennis, that's a costume change. My criticism isn't that you can't be redeemed, it's that you haven't been redeemed. Specifically, your comedy. Your jokes land with about as much subtlety as a piano falling down a staircase. And I say that with peace and love, buddy-o. And here's the kicker, Dennis. You talk about grace and forgiveness while delivering a sermon that basically labels everyone who disagrees with you morally bankrupt. That's like a porcupine offering free hugs. The contradictions are as clear as glass on window washing day. And you want to know what really gets my goat? You claim that I'm mining your life for content while you've built your entire career off of doing that exact same thing to others. That's like a mosquito complaining about blood donation. The hypocrisy is thicker than molasses in January. Well, folks, that's about all the time we have for today. And remember, if someone responds to your criticism with a dissertation on the downfall of Western civilization that sounds like it came straight from ChatGPT, they might just be running from your critique faster than a cat runs from a bath. Until next time, this is Ryan Beard signing off. And remember, it's okay to change your mind, but if you do, just try your best to do it without sounding like you're auditioning for Discount PragerU. See you next time, folks. All right, Dennis, I hope that response was a bit more your speed. Maybe now you were able to understand me because I spoke your language. I'll see you guys next time.